and say, yesterday on the show, and I'm like, what show? And it was a training that we put on. Apparently, I say hilarious things and Rhonda reacts when we do our Teams meetings, so people call it the show. Okay, I put this slide up because this is Senate approach. That's where all of the really important decisions in our country are made. And I got to go in there at 2 in the morning once on a secret tour after George Bush's HW viewing when he died. A guy took me in there. You're not supposed to let people in there, but you know how I am. So I put that up there because it's a big deal. Like, we have about a month to possibly continue those free meals. There's 2 bills out there for it. One of them, if COVID would flip, we could get them. But I don't know that he can. I mean, you know, Ricky Becker almost pushed him out at that Republican convention, so he's a little skittish about things right now. It wouldn't hurt to call him and say, those free meals would really help because wages haven't caught up with like gas prices and everything else right now. I mean, usually when we get inflation, everything goes up, but if you're a person whose wages are set once a year, you can't just get a raise because gas went up. It was kind of funny because my daughter does the news in New York and I was listening to it, and then she sounded pretty smart. Then she wrote to me and said, Mom, what are CDs? And I'm like, oh, yeah, I haven't got one since 1995 because I could get 5% then, and back in the day I could get 8%. But interestingly, I noticed this. Okay, so CDs are 0.5% and mortgage rates are 4, 5. That's like 8, 10 times as much. Back in the day, I could get a CD for 12% when my mortgage was 15. So, it's not the nasty oil barons, maybe it's the banking barons. Anyway, so I went totally off. That's why Rhonda makes faces, I suppose. Okay. One thing that I'm supposed to remind you is if you have excess funds, and we sent you email that said get your excess fund plan in. First of all, you're lucky that you have the excess funds. You can send your plan in. We're never going to take your money back. We just have to say when you have too much money. That's our whole thing. Because USDA is like that. They have a bunch of useless rules. Someday, I'm going to go there. I actually almost applied for a job there this year because I was going to go there and raise a ruckus until I got fired and then I retired anyway. So but I didn't do it. I was a little too scared. Okay. Now, another thing is Scott might have called you about you need a SAM unique identifier instead of the DUNS number. Another thing, USDA just decided change stuff. So you know if he had 11 people left, I think most of them were private schools that didn't get their SAM unique identifier applied for. One thing that I think if we don't get the free meals, we only have 4 weeks, then they're gone for the summer. But if we don't get them, probably we won't get them. On the top of the application that I send out to you guys, up on the right-hand corner, it has a little online application you can do. That goes to Primero Edge. If you're a big district, big school, you probably have your own system, so you know you don't mind. But my other 185 customers might care. That goes to Primero Edge, and you do have your user ID and password for that if you've had a review in like the last 3 years. So you could use that online system. But if you want to do that, you have to call Scott, and he has to see if you're smart enough to do it, and then he'll add your name of your district to the drop-down box so your customers could fill out an online app and then drop it in there. But if you don't do this online app system, take that off of the app before you Xerox them and send them out to your customers, because otherwise they're going to be trying to do it. I didn't really appreciate how great that was until a couple weeks ago when I was on a little demo that Kansas did about an online app that they got a free prototype from USDA, but they had to spend $100,000 to Kansasize it. Anyway, it was so great, they sent me a tester. So I've never filled out a free reader's app. I didn't even know how easy this could be, because I usually don't like things on the computer, well, especially on a phone, it's so little. But I did it, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it was almost like Jimmy John's. It would say like, would you like to add a pickle for $150 or $1.50, or are you sure you put everybody down? And just nice questions, very easy. You click it and submit it. I'm not kidding you, it was less than 5 minutes. And I was sitting there thinking that I started pacing around my house. What if I had done this on paper? I would have to find an envelope. Well, now I'd have to go and see who am I going to mail it to. Well, I can't just put it in my kid's backpack. what if someone sees it who I didn't want to see it? Oh, and you know, and I thought, oh my gosh, there are so many kind of barriers we didn't even notice. So the online app is a really, really slick deal. And one thing they told us is that, one of my customers, sorry, at the very beginning, they say, I promise to tell the truth. And they found out by doing studies that if you put that at the front of a thing instead of at the bottom of it, they're more likely to tell the truth. Maybe that's why they do that in court. I never thought about it. But yeah, you know. So, because if you're all done, you've been lying, and now you're, I certify that I told the truth, you know, it makes a difference. Anyway, I thought, that is a pretty slick deal. I would have never in a million years, like maybe a month ago, even said online apps are good. I would have said, oh, I don't know, hard, but it was so easy I couldn't even believe it. All right, local foods. There's a lot of talk about local foods. There's a lot more than just beef. I put this little, this is our farm to school logo that we have now. We made it in conjunction with the North Dakota Agriculture Department. They help us on this. So we added that little cow calf unit just so you can see local beef. It's so good. Anyway, if you want to do more farm to school to help your community out, you sure can. It's one thing, it really came about because of supply chain, because Tara, our commodity lady, had planned on ordering 9 or 10 trucks of ground beef, but then when the price was too high, she decided not to order 3 of the trucks. Well, my schools weren't going to go all chicken, you know, so they had to go out and buy beef, and they had to pay that much anyway, but then she like kept their commodity money, and then they spent it on other stuff. Oh, sorry, this is what happens to me every day. Nobody call me tomorrow, I'm getting a stent tomorrow, okay, nobody. All right, anyways, so she canceled those 3 trucks of ground beef. Well, then these ranchers that came swooping in and said, hey, why don't we have local ground beef in our North Dakota schools? And I was like, we sure can. There's no laws against it, as long as it's processed at a inspected plant. They're fine to sell it to the schools. Donate. They wanted to donate. And I told them, ooh, I'm not a fan of donations because then people act like they expect it all the time. And I swear, every time I had a farm to school conference, like, ranchers didn't want to come because they thought the local school would sit by them and act like, you could donate to us, you know. They should be able to make some money for their ranching and to keep it going, because this is our North Dakota farm to school thing, but USDA nationally, their farm to school deal, it's not just about getting local foods into the school. They want to get kids excited about agriculture so that they might want to be a farmer or a rancher or work in an agricultural field. So, you know, it's kind of a double thing there, a double whammy. It could keep the kids in the community, possibly up your school enrollment. You know, I know they're not going to have 8 kids, but still, farm to school really helps. Kids win, communities win, farmers win. It's a really, really good thing. And it's not just beef, it could be a lot of things. On that beef, we know you get a way higher yield on the local beef than you do on her commodity beef. And there's 200 commodity foods. You could order all kinds of other stuff. Doesn't have to be beef, but if you want to get the commodity beef, go right ahead. I'm actually not even supposed to say that. Probably why I need this, but whatever. Okay, meal pricing for 2023. Oh, I don't know what to say on that. Yesterday I was talking to Joel from Jamestown. He wanted to go up to $4.25. I'm like, oh no, the customers aren't going to take that. So he's going to go a little less, but it's tough. It's tough to pay your bills when you don't have any money. So anyway, we're going back as far as we know, unless Hogan saves us. I know Thune won't. I already heard a big fat no from him, not Joni Ernst, but she won't either. I don't know the rest of those guys. But somebody on that Senate subcommittee's got to flip, because it's 50-50, and that's where that bill is sitting right now. There's 51 Democrat, a couple Republicans are in the 51 sponsors, but you don't just win because you have 51 sponsors. It has to come out of that committee, and it's sitting there, and they're thinking about it, and it's tough. People don't want to spend money. But when I was in DC in March, Hogan said this: anything that says COVID on it, Republicans will vote no, because a lot of them don't believe it even was a thing, and they hate those words. But if we use supply chain, that would be good, and I think that would be fair, because my thing is, we do have a supply chain issue, and maybe if we had 1 more year of the free meals, that people could catch up. Well, if we'd have some product, maybe wages would catch up, and that would be great. And I know people would say, well, okay, first you said that for the first year, and then the second half a year, and then the second full year. Like, now it's going to be a 3rd year. You're really trying to do this forever. Well, we are, but we don't want to admit it, right? Okay, so send out your application for free and reduced meals to everyone, and then you gotta make your determinations if they're free, reduced, or paid. Is anybody really brand new and they don't have a clue what I'm talking about, this free and reduced app business? If you don't, or you're just scared to raise your hand, write or call me on Monday, and I'll tell you how to do it. Okay? And I'll probably even cut your woo-hoo. Anyways, okay. Then you have to verify 3% of your applications received by October 1st. This one is hilarious because I hear people say all the time, that's like every third one, right? No, it's 1 out of every 33. So the vast majority of you would have to verify one app, just one family. You would have to ask for a check stub or taxes or something. You could even pick a teacher and look at their contract. Done. Okay? Or it's harder if you're from a big school, but you're also lucky because you have a lot of workers to do all the work. Now, if you have Power Lunch or some kind of a system that does meal counting, you're going to have to make sure that you go in there and put the prices to what they are so they're not all zeros if you did that a couple years ago. If you've got people still on there from 2 years ago as free, we still don't know if there's going to be any carryover, because you know usually you get carryover of 30 school days into the new year. Whoever was free the year before gets to be free, just so they have that like month to make sure they get a new app in. We don't even know if there's going to be that. We don't even know if it would be from 2 years ago. We know nothing about that. But be ready for us, as soon as we know, when we tell you that you got to wipe out those free people in your computer who aren't legitimately free and get some new ones. Oh, you can't. I'm getting really mixed up with my slides because I went into my stupid story about CDs and such. You can't take new apps until July 1st. So if someone gives you one signed before July 1st, send them a new one and say, sorry, it has to be signed July 1st or later. Okay, let's see. No more tally sheets or head counts unless you're a CEP or provision school. You're so lucky if you're a CEP or provision school because you don't have to worry about it. Those meals are still free. Do not count second meals. On so many of the reviews we did this year, we found people were counting their seconds. Like if they gave seconds of the entree or whatever, they're just counting it because it was a tally. And don't count adult meals. We cannot give you money for adult meals no matter what. If you want to absorb the cost of them for people who do work for lunch, you sure can, but we don't reimburse you for those, not at all. Check your meal charging policy because I can guarantee you people are not going to pay. They're just used to it. They're not going to starve my kid. They wouldn't care. And so check your meal charging policy. If you have something on there that they would get a peanut butter sandwich or whatever, you might have to be a little mean and stick to it. If you have, some people from big towns, I first got this from Emily in Grand Forks, put on there that if you had money left in your account at the end of the year and you were either moving or graduated or whatever, if you don't ask for a refund by, say, June 20th, we assume you want to leave it there and donate it to an angel fund for people who need some money in their lunch account. That's a really good thing to write on there, so you're not obligated to send people $3 or $5 or $7 or whatever. Say they have to request a refund if they're leaving the district. If they're just getting older, you know, their money still goes with them, but if they're leaving, they need to ask for a refund before that year is over on June 30th, so you're not going back 5 years. All right, we have a paid lunch equity tool, which still isn't out. It's usually out in March, but the reason they even have such a thing is because usually the prices that you guys charge to your customers is not enough to cover the cost of the meals. You really count on that free and reduced money because like right now you're getting $4.56 for a free lunch. On a normal year, you would have got, I think it's $3.73. That's the thing about these summer meals, why they're so much better. You get a whole extra $1, you know, for a free kid. Well, for anybody. But anyway, that's why we have a paid lunch equity, because they don't want you using your free kids' money to subsidize meals for paid kids. Or for adults. That's why we have rules on adults too. God, I feel like you guys are just kind of like this. I should have never said anything about this. Let's just pretend that one didn't happen. Okay? Anyways, I would like to, so I can't wait till this time tomorrow. Okay. Prices need to reflect the cost to produce the meal. And this is funny because like Joe calls me and says, how much should we charge for meals? I'm starting to think maybe we should start from the other end. Like how much should we spend to make a meal? Now think about that, because I had a call on someone like wondering about that too. I would think no more than $2. On average, no more than $2 to produce a lunch. But remember, sometimes you'll have commodity stuff that's zero, and then you might have something that costs $1.25 another day, and your milk, oh my gosh, I see prices still 19 cents to 49 cents for the exact same carton. But I also, I feel terrible, like a few years ago, remember when we put that map up at one of our trainings and said how the milk was 13 to 42 cents. Sometimes places were this far apart and 30 cents different. And now all those milk places went out of business. I almost feel like that's my fault, kind of. I feel a little bad. But if you feel like you're getting rugged for your milk, call them up and say, hey, I think I could get my milk cheaper from someone else, and see what they say. If they say, fine, you're a rotten customer, get out of here. Sorry, please keep me, But anyway, think about how much it costs, because we have so many small towns that are giving extras on milk and the entree and huge salad bars, things like that. You're going to have to cut down on that, and maybe don't make people take food they're not going to eat. All right, the last PLE guidance we had was from 2019, where it actually listed a target price, and they wanted you to be at $3. And then if you see in bold here, they said inflation was 4.68. Ooh, that's hardly nothing. Because right now, March to March, it was 8.5, and then in March, which they don't even have numbers for yet, it went sky high again. So we're just kind of waiting for them to send us that PLE tool, which one of my friends at USDA told me is going to save $3.31 per target price, which that's not that much. I mean, that's still like that 10 cents a year increase. But where it might make a difference on inflation is when they tell us those reimbursement rates. And I know you keep writing and saying, what's the reimbursement rates? We don't know. They tell us late in July. But I'm hoping they take into consideration all of this inflation and really pump those rates up. That would be great. Because if they stick at like the 3.73 and maybe go up 2 cents, that's what they usually do. So 3.75 next year for a free meal, that's just not enough. I hope they pump it up to at least $4. Because otherwise, I can tell you right now that we will have a lot of districts that don't have many free and reduced kids, and they'll just say, it's not worth jumping through the hoops here. I mean, we had that 10 years ago when we had the new meal pattern. We had places just drop off. They said, it's not worth jumping through the hoops. We'll just go a la carte and charge people whatever we want, serve whatever we want. We could have that happen again. If people don't want to jump through hoops, they'll just like drop your program, who cares? But I guess it would be nice if you could stay on the program, because we do feel like it's better than the kids going to the gas station. And not even thinking about the food, thinking about the accidents. All right, so that target price, they're going to say $3.31. But remember, there's these little caveats all over the place that we can't make you go up more than 10 cents a year. So if you started at 85 cents 10 years ago, I mean, you could be $1.65 or something, and still be at a pathetically low price. You can go as high as you want, as high as the market will bear. But I know you gotta live in your time, and it's tough. Just think about it though. You really might want to go at least, if you're one of those real low schools, at least go to $3, at least. As soon as I get this in writing that the PLE target is $3.31, oh, I'll send it out, and then you can say, oh, well, the mistakes, hey, you gotta go up that high. And then if you go a little less, you can say, see how nice you are? All right. You can, if you want, not have to go up if you say, we had a positive balance in our lunch account this year. Almost everybody did, but I got these 2 places that lost $400,000. I don't think they're going to get an exemption from me for that. If you had a positive balance in your lunch account December 31st, 2021, you can say, we have a positive balance in our lunch account. We do not want to raise our prices this year. And I'll say approved and send it back to you. But just remember, then you still got to pay your bills. You got to look at your budget. Okay, on that paid PLE tool, some people want to know how to do it. The very first thing you need to know is, what were my prices in October 2010? Ooh, some of you probably didn't even work there. I almost wanted to say work for it yet, because I'm pretty old. But you didn't work there. I know your prices from 2010. I got them in file, so you can just call and ask me, because you can't do anything on that dang PLE tool unless you know your prices from October of 2010. So I have them for you. and you put them in there, and then it extrapolates out what your price should be this year. One part that makes it really hard for me when I do this PLE tool for you is when you have 2 or 3 prices. Why? If you were a K through 12 school, giving the kids the exact same thing, why do you have an elementary, a middle, and high school price? Just have one price. If you really are sticking to the meal pattern and you're giving those little kids a lot less and the high school kids a lot more, sure you can have a higher price for your high school kids. But if it's looking like it's the exact same thing, why do you have 3 prices? It just seems silly. It's a lot of extra paperwork for me when I have to do your PLE tool.
Deb, isn't it because we have to do different portions?
You do, but most people don't do different portions. They just like, everybody gets the same. Kind of weird. If you actually do different portions, kudos to you. I have been to places that automatically put 2 chicken burgers and 2 milks on every tray and ask them if they want a 3rd. And that is ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. I mean, more of it goes in the garbage, but nobody wants to say no, you know? And I know it sounds hard to say, do you want green beans? Do you want potatoes? Do you want gravy? Do you want chicken burger? Do you want peaches 400 times? Teach your kids right away. If you don't want something, go or say, I don't want green beans, or I don't want whatever. Just teach the kids to say, so you're not putting stuff on their tray that they didn't even want. I mean, don't be ultra stingy, but, hey, why doesn't this work now? Oh, now it does, okay. Okay, I don't know if you want me to go through all these instructions to fill out this PLE tool, but if you want me to, I can just send you it, or even I can do it for you so fast, I can do it in 7 minutes. I mean, if nobody calls me in those 7 minutes, I can do it for you, and send it right back to you, and it'll be right. So we're gonna skip right over that. All right, it pretty much fills in for you if you put in your 2010 price. These are our rules, which we can only make you go up 10 cents a year no matter how low you are. You can go up as much as you want, but that's on you. You gotta live in your town. This was the average prices the last time people had prices in there. And also, if you want like this whole PowerPoint, I can send it to you, or even just this one slide. You can see it though. If you go into Indie Foods and you go into your sponsor profile where you have your prices, right next to it, it says state average for prices. If you want to take a look, and you can see that. And so you can see for lunch, it was about $2.76, $2.77. I mean, I don't think $3 would be too high from that. People should go up to be an average of $3. That target of $3.31, is that too high? Take a look at some invoices. You'll be shocked. When the co-op stopped with the 100 districts that were on the co-op, and those people went to US Foods and Cisco's, and I did procurement reviews, so I got invoices. Juices that were 25 cents were now 37. Applesauce, same thing. It went up, I don't know, say it was $35 a case, went up to $50 a case. Things went up easily 50%, a lot of very common items. So that's another thing to think about when you are going to decide if you're going to raise your prices or not. See how much the same, I mean, this is why we gave you those supply chain assistance funds. I was so shocked at people who called and said, oh, we don't need those, we have plenty of money. I'm like, take it, take it, take it. Baby, take all the money you can get. That's my thing, because you're going to be suffering. And remember the 8.5% inflation, I think it's actually going to be worse. And do you think food prices are going to be down? No. You know, gas, it does fluctuate, but have you ever noticed at the store when they jack up the prices on food, even if you hear things went down, they don't give you that price decrease at the store on groceries. Never. They just don't. On the gas, they do. Maybe that's why they have it on marquees at gas stations. Everybody knows. Okay. There might be some whining from your customers. Yes, there might be. But here's my thing. If I had to pay my bills, it's way easier if you got some money than if you don't have any money. It's fine. You know what? Guess I never had it since like 1980. I've had plenty of money. So I think it's way tougher to pay your bills when you don't have enough money. This is one thing. You think about, okay, the parents have had these free meals and now it's going to be hard. Well, what'd they do with that money? You know, they had 2 1/3 years they didn't pay for lunches. They should have been saving their money. I realize most people don't save their money, but if anybody said anything, you could actually say that, hey, you didn't have to pay for 2 years, that's a pretty good deal, right? Average it out, it's not too bad. Okay, adults have to pay the full price of producing the meal. Still a good deal. They have to be about 85 cents higher than your highest student price. And that's the cost, or what the paid reimbursement rate would be plus the value of the commodities that you get. Kellen in our office went to some restaurant, I think it was like Bismarck Ale Works or something, and a milk for his kid was $4.29. Just the milk. So when you think about our meal of everything it is, it's a pretty good deal. If you don't have a student meal price because you're totally free school for provision or CEP, then you have to charge the free reimbursement. Oh, I keep forgetting, okay. All right, this is a little chart that tells about how much you should have to pay. Like, if you're a non-pricing school, your lunch should be $4.15. If you're a pricing school, it should be 82 cents, I don't know what that bang was, higher, 82 cents higher than your highest student price. So when you set your student prices, then you gotta check your adult prices again too. Watch your waste. I already talked about don't give a bunch of seconds, large portions, extras. Well, I meant for this is for the cooks. You worked hard all day. They mostly sat in chairs and maybe they had a snack break too. But it's a little different because we see some of those cooks, they can really eat a lot. I mean, if I was running around all day too, I should get a job as a cook and then I probably wouldn't have this sucker here. Oh, anyway. Don't make students take milk if they don't want it. Make sure you have water. That's the thing. I went to this one school where I heard they were dumping milk like crazy, and dang it, there wasn't a kindergarten teacher standing right there by the kids, and she was going, take your milk, take your milk. Well, what do you think those little kids did? They took their milk. And so I went out to the tables, and all their milk was sitting there, and I took some water, because that was another thing. This is the weirdest thing. They had their water set far back in the kitchen, like on top of an upside down roaster pan. I don't know why. And it was warm because I got it like an hour ahead of time. So I went out to the little water fountain, whatever, got some little cold glass of water carried around on a tray, and I said, hey, would you like some water? And they're like, yes, yes, yes. I would say 7 out of 8 kids at every table took that water, and I said, are you going to drink your milk? And they're like, no, but maybe one would. So I took their milk back. That's how many people were taking milk who, if they would have had a chance to get some nice cold water, they wouldn't have taken milk. If they wanted to drink milk, fine. But if they're not going to drink it and you had to force them to take it, why? Knock it off. Either give them a little cold cup of water, or make sure if you even buy little bottles, somebody told me they could buy little bottles for 7 cents. That's probably not true at all right now. But anyways, they can have water if they want, and nobody has to take milk. They just need to take 3 things. If you're having your cooks individually wrap stuff, knock it off. That's just a waste of time. I mean, people get COVID from each other's breath, not from touching somebody's food with whether or not it had saran wrap on it. On salad bars, we know how teachers, and probably you, love to have a bunch of protein on the salad bar. Isn't that great? Yeah, it costs a lot of money. So you could make it a choice and say, you can have the entree, or we have these little cups of ham, cheese, eggs, sudsy. You can give that to them to make the salad bar the meal, if you want. Oh, and this is why I really, really like the local beef. We have cooks who, for whatever reason, if they open a case of something, they use the whole case just to finish it. You know, so if they maybe only needed 30 pounds of ground beef, but a case is 40, they cook it all up, then they put it in their little used sour cream containers and stick it way back in the freezer. And then the next time they use the whole 40 pounds again, and then they do that with the leftovers again, and then in May they throw out all these leftovers. If you're lucky that they don't keep them for a few years. Why? You know, it's just, it would make a lot more sense to just, if you know you need 27 or 17 pounds of ground beef, and you got it from a local guy and said, can you package that in a 17-pound package? You know, once a week, bring that to us, or twice a week, or whenever, and then you wouldn't have all that waste. If we don't give extras, people will starve. Oh, no, they won't. Yeah, we hear this all the time. Think about charging the people who want more. We have lots of people who charge for seconds. They don't seem to have a problem with it. That way the people who really want it can get it and can pay for it. You have to recoup at least the cost and a little bit more. But, you know, don't say, well, it was commodity spaghetti, ground beef, spaghetti sauce, so we're just gonna ask for 10 cents. No, you just have a price, like $1 or $1.25 or $1.50 per seconds, and that's just what you charge. Face it, nobody wants a fruit or vegetable. It's always the entree. So make sure that your second price is high enough. Another thing you could do is you can cater, and that word means sell at a profit, not give away. Donuts or whatever staff people are bringing in, muffins, whatever your cooks could make, caramel rolls, cookies, donuts, whatever, and sell them. You can offer some a la carte items, like go to the gas station, what are they buying there? Try to see if you can find something very similar and sell it at your school. What about the free kids? All right, they don't get free a la carte, they just get a free lunch. But if there's a really popular a la carte item, maybe you could have it on the regular lunch once in a while, and then the free kids could get it too. Oh, here's a biggie. I went to this one school once. Oh, this lady, she thought she was something, boy. She was claiming her a la carte was such a good seller. No, it was a good giveaway. It was $10,000 in the hole. Kids were taking a la carte and charging it and never paying. So, no charging on a la carte. I mean, sometimes people let people charge on the regular lunch line up to 5 meals or whatever, but if you are doing a la carte type things, selling them, make sure you're selling them. That means getting money, not letting people charge and just leave at the end of the year. One thing I noticed when I was a director in Jamestown and we first started a la carte, this one boy, he used like 50 bucks in a week, and then of course his mom called and said, what the heck's going on? So I had my cashier take a look. He was buying for 5 kids behind him. They kind of took advantage of him because he was real nice and sweet. You might possibly have to get parents' permission first. I mean, think about it. You know your community better. If you've never done a la carte and you want to start, you might want parents to say, my kid either can or can't have a la carte, because if they put in $100 for lunch money and then the kid spends it all in 2 weeks on a la carte, they're going to call crap about it. Pricing a la carte, most time I would say just double it and near it down, round down to the nearest quarter, or add 30% for a food cost. You can have healthy stuff be lower if you want, that's really nice, and then jack up the more junky foods. You're supposed to do a thing called a non-program food revenue tool. Another thing I can do in like 7 minutes if you tell me good numbers, but what it means is you have to get more revenue per cost of your non-program foods than you get revenue compared to cost of a program foods. If you're a small school and I try to do this thing, it doesn't work out unless you charge $8 for an adult meal. But now I get to actually write that in the comments and say, this would never work for a small school, USDA, knock it off. I'm not going to write all that, but you know. Anyways, all right, so we're going to have some back-to-school workshops in July and in August, and they're in Fargo, Bismarck, and Minot. So we have a really good speaker in the morning, this Janelle Peterson that we had last year. She was a South Dakota Rapid City Food Service Director, and then she worked in the South Dakota State Office. She's very, very smart. Talking to cooks, and then we'll have some updates and things like that. Notice this, usually we charge $35. Didn't write that on the slide though, because I'm smart. We raised ours to $70 because that's how much, like the lunch prices, breakfast, room rental charges have gone up. It's shocking how much things have gone up a lot. And I'm kind of lucky because my daughter got engaged in August, and she's getting married in Long Island. That's where she lives. And does anyone want to guess how much it is per person to come to the wedding? $286. And then they're going to add some fees on there. But see, I've been saving my money since 1980. Didn't have any kids except at 1989 and 92, so I've got a lot of money saved. And I'm just so happy. I should be able to like have people come to this wedding. Not that I'm going to get a lot of Bismarck people. Anyway, you know how I totally go off, but I'm just sitting there thinking, it's gonna be fun. And I wasn't gonna get my little stent right here until afterwards, and then I thought, oh God, what if I don't make it? So I'm gonna get a tumor. And then I have a friend who's a heart surgeon. I've been writing him and saying, oh, maybe I don't need it. And he's like, we don't just tell people that crap, you know. So anyways, it's really hilarious. cover the costs. Then I get in trouble with big DPI. I get in trouble with them about some of the dumbest stuff, you know? And I'm like, ugh. Anyway, that's what I'm charging for. Kitchen counter conversation, otherwise known as the Rhonda and Deb comedy show. The next one will be May 17th, and it's ways to get ready for next year. Oh, I won't be on this because I'm on a thing to plan a state directors meeting for all 50 of the state directors, because I'm a really good conference planner. Okay, then this is how to contact us, and I have to put, this is my contact information. I'm gonna, oh, questions? Anybody have any good questions? Hard questions?
When can we register our staff?
Okay, it's out there. We put it in a newsletter that was sent out this week.
Okay, I was looking and I couldn't find it, so
Okay.
I better look better.
Write to Rhonda or Amy in our office, or can I go back on this? See this little email here that says dpicnfd@nd.gov? Could write to that, and Victoria, this really good secretary, administrative professional that we have. She's like smarter than our program people. She can actually send me that newsletter or the links. This is my contact information. I wish I didn't put that work number there. It comes through my computer and it sounds like a tin can. You can call my cell phone, 391-2884, but remember, just not tomorrow. Because my boyfriend would probably answer it, and I don't know what answers he would make up. I have to flash this non-discrimination statement. Okay, any other questions? Gosh, you guys are an easy audience, thank you. And if you think of questions, you can write or call. I have Rhonda, Kellen, and Tanya are my workers, and they are fantastic. And Amy, I forgot about Amy, they were really, really good. Like, they would, kind of like me, they'd probably do their job for free because they love their customers. So don't be scared. I worry when people think, oh, we don't want the state to come. We're not mean. I mean, if there was a mean person, I wish you'd tell me about it, because I would smack them good. And then I'd get all right. No questions? Okay. Well, thank you for listening.